right, chapter 3. So this one's called Never Mind, Can You Just Go Away? I'm going to go over the chapter questions that you would have out in front of you so that you can be answering them as you go. So your journal prompt says that the Zuri frequently say that everyone agrees. And so the question is, why do you think they say this? Do they really mean everyone? And then what might this foreshadow? So why do you think they say this? You can't be wrong. It's just your opinion, you think, right? And then do they mean everyone? What might this foreshadow? Foreshadow is actually your first vocabulary word. So if you're not sure what foreshadow is, look up the vocabulary word first and then use that to kind of make it. What foreshadow means is what might it be hinting at. Okay, so you're going to make a guess. You can't be wrong. You're guessing. And then there are 2 different comprehension questions. It says, try to look at the situation from Planet Choom's point of view. Why wouldn't they want Earthlings? Do they have a point? And then, do they have a right to turn them away? Should they? Why or why not? Okay. And then, how do you think Land's family would do? And then why? So, that one's a prediction also, so you can't be wrong. So you can't be wrong. You just got to try, and it'll be great. Okay. So, chapter 3. Never mind. Can you just go away? The first thing I heard when I came out of suspension was Mom's voice. Hey, Lan, she was saying. I think it's Lon. I think I'm saying it wrong, so I'm going to fix myself. Hey, Lon, she was saying. Hey, time to get up, Lon. I could feel her fingertips gently pushing the hair off my forehead. When I opened my eyes, she was smiling down at me. I smiled back and sat up. Then I barfed. Or I would have if there'd been anything in my stomach. Since it was empty, they don't let you go to sleep for 20 years on a full stomach, I mostly just dry heaved into the little bucket Mom held for me. It's okay, she said as she patted my back. Everybody does this when they come out of it. Why aren't you doing it? I've been up for a day or so. Your father has too. Morning, sunshine. I looked up and saw Dad sitting on the edge of Isla's pod, holding her hair back while her face was buried in her own bucket. Long time no see. Doesn't feel like it, I said, looking across the crowded pod room. Everyone was like us, either just getting up or holding a bucket for someone who was just getting up. It's weird, right? 20 years went by, just like that. I heaved again. How close are we to Choom? Pretty close, Mom said. We're in orbit. Are we landing soon? Mom and Dad looked at each other. Well, what? Mom's tone of voice and Isla's head jerking up out of her bucket. My sister's face was gray, and there were fat, dark circles under her eyes. She narrowed them at Mom. What's going on? There's been a complication, Mom said in a quiet voice. As soon as everybody's awake, we'll explain it. An hour later, Mom stood at the front of the pod room with Dr. Chang and General Schiller, just like they had when they played the invitation video for us back on Mars. This time around, they didn't look excited. They looked worried. When the first of us came out of biosuspension, General Schiller explained, we radioed Choom's government for landing instructions. Instead of answering, they sent this video. We figured you'd best see it for yourselves. The communal screens on each wall of the room flickered to life with the image of a single Zuri in close-up, its compound eyes fixed on the camera. After a moment, the translator kicked in. The unified government of Choom regrets to inform you that our people have agreed the human species is too violent and emotional to live among us. Our society has no conflict. Your presence would threaten our peace. For your safety and ours, we ask that you leave our orbit immediately. Please do not attempt to enter Choom's atmosphere, or our defense weapons will vaporize you. We wish you safe travels and a pleasant future. Goodbye. The video ended, and the yelling began. There was a lot of crying, too. The yelling and crying went on for a long time, mostly because there was nothing else we could do. The GC had sent a dozen messages down to Planet Choom since getting the video, but nobody would answer them. It doesn't seem like the GC's fault to me, but a lot of people blame them anyway. How could you let them do this? They invited us here. It's as big a mystery to us as it is to you, Dr. Chang said. Did you lie to them or something? Are they just finding out now what humans are really like? Absolutely not, said Mom. We were open with them from the beginning about Earth's entire history. We sent thousands of hours of historical and cultural videos. They knew everything there was to know about us. We gave them the whole kit and caboodle, General Schiller agreed, warts and all. That's why it took them so long to invite us in the first place. Most people wanted to leave CHUM's orbit right away, but we couldn't because we didn't have enough fuel left to go anywhere. And even if we did, there was no place to go. We haven't logged a message from the Novo group since 6 months after we left Mars, Dr. Chang explained. At that point, they'd just begun their journey. We've heard nothing further since they entered biosuspension. Are they okay? Someone asked. We don't know, said Dr. Chang. They've been having problems with their communications array. The radio silence could be that, or something worse. Why don't we go to Novo? Someone else suggested. Dr. Chang shook her head. We're close enough now to analyze Novo's atmosphere. It has no oxygen. Terraforming it is beyond our ability. We can't live there. What about the Earthers? How are they doing? This time, all 3 of the GC members shook their heads sadly. They went dark pretty soon after they got to Earth, said General Schiller. The final message made it clear things didn't work out too well for them. My eyes welled up as I thought about Jens and the others. Let's just go back to Mars, somebody called out. There's more head shaking from the GC. Even if we had enough fuel, Mom explained, by the time we got there, the station would have spent 40 years exposed to Martian windstorms. Its life support systems would have failed a long time ago. This is nonsense, bellowed a tall, red-faced man named Gunderson. He'd been a football coach back on Earth, and he still seemed to get a kick out of yelling like one. You telling me we spent 20 years burning fuel, crossing half the galaxy just to turn around because these folks got cold feet? I say we call their bluff, put ourselves down on that planet, and tell them we ain't taking no for an answer. Some people really liked hearing that. They clapped their hands and whistled, but General Schiller wasn't impressed. Mr. Gunderson, he said in a low but firm voice, CHUM society is fundamentally peaceful, but that warning in the video about vaporizing us was no joke. These folks have weapons technology that makes us look like cavemen throwing rocks. We call their bluff, we're going to get our heads handed to us. More than that, the general added, I want to remind you that kind of thinking that says we can get what we want by attacking people is what cost us our planet in the first place. I like to believe we all learned a lesson from that. I know I did. Gunderson didn't like getting scolded by a general. He crossed his arms and stuck out his jaw like a pouty little kid. Well, what the heck else are we going to do? We're going to keep trying to talk to these people, replied Schiller, and pray they start talking back. After that, Mom delivered a big pep talk about how it was a scary situation, but we're going to get through it together, and in the end, we'd all look back and be proud of how we'd helped save the human race and met this challenge with courage and unity and good cheer. I think it must have been really inspiring, but I didn't hear a word of it because I was so anxious and scared that I couldn't think straight, let alone listen to a speech. I didn't sleep a wink that night, and it wasn't just because I'd gotten 20 years worth of sleep the night before. Considering all the sniffles, whimpers, and muffled tears echoing through the darkened pod room that night, I don't think anyone else slept either. After we'd spent a couple of very bad days in orbit, CHUM's government finally started to talk to us. At first, they just traded messages with the GC, mostly apologies along with more requests for us to leave. But then Mom managed to talk them into doing a live video conference in the pod room with the whole group of us. But we look awful, Isla said when she heard the news, and it was true. What was left of the human race looked exactly like you'd expect from a room full of starving people who hadn't changed their clothes in 20 years. Mom just nodded. That's the whole point. If they can see us, they might feel some sympathy, and they'll realize we're not a threat to them. So, when the video conference began and the lone Zuri's insect-like head appeared on the communal screens, we all did our best to look pitiful, helpless, and friendly all at once. It was a tough combination to pull off. Greetings, said the Zuri. Our translator apps gave her the voice signature of a squeaky-sounding little girl, which would have been funny if the situation weren't so serious. My name is Leanie. I am a senior official in the Immigration Division of the Unified Government of Choom. On behalf of our people, I apologize that you are no longer welcome. Mom had been given the job of speaking for all of us. Greetings to you, Leanie, she said as her translator turned her words into yee whine that Zuri could not understand, that the Zuri could understand. My name is Amora Persuade. I am a member of the Governing Council of the Human Race. We humbly ask you to reconsider your decision. Mom waved her hand to indicate the 1,000 of us who stood behind her. As you can see, she explained, we are a weak, helpless, and desperate group. If you admit us to Choom, we promise to cause no violence and do no harm. If we break this promise, we will leave immediately. We wish only to live in peace with your mercy and help. The Zuri took so long to answer it that I'd started to wonder if the data connection was broken. Finally, she spoke again. Everyone here agrees, she said, that it is best if the humans do not come to Choom. With all respect, Mom replied, we are only here because you invited us, and we have nowhere else to go. That invitation was a long time ago. Since then, there have been many changes in the unified government. Those who invited you are no longer our leaders. Now everyone agrees that for your own safety as well as ours, you should not come here. We have nowhere else to go, Mom repeated in a firm voice. There is very little food and even less fuel on this ship. We used nearly all we had in order to come to you as you requested. If you do not let us land, we will die. There were gasps and whimpers all around me. I knew the situation was bad, but hearing Mom say that out loud made my whole body turn weak with fear. Mom's voice somehow stayed calm. You say you love peace, she told the Zuri. If so, how can you allow this to happen? It was impossible to tell what the Zuri was thinking. Her compound eyes and her tube-shaped mouth never moved, but the pause before she answered was even longer than before. We will call you back, she finally said, and then the screen went dark. The next day, Naya and I were sitting on my pod playing Monopoly on her screen. Isla was next to us, lying on her own pod and watching TV, when Mom and Dad practically sprinted across the room to us. They'd been in the control room, and it was obvious from their faces that something big had just happened. What is it? I asked. Choom's government agreed to open the planet to one human reproductive unit, Mom told us, grinning from ear to ear as she made air quotes around human reproductive unit. They're letting in one family as a test case, Dad explained. If it works out, we think they'll let in everybody else. My sister's eyes widened. The family's not going to be us, is it? It was us. And that's the end of chapter 3. So chapter 4 is called Welcome to Choom.